Hello, my name is Grant Fritchey. I work for Redgate Software. I want to talk to you about the GDPR and your clients, the GDPR and your customers, and whether or not the GDPR is applicable to your clients and customers. And the simplest answer is, well, yes. If your clients and customers are in the EU or soon to be Australia, soon to be Japan, probably eventually a lot of the other countries in the world. But if you have EU customers, the GDPR is absolutely applicable to your customers. So now the question is are your customers and clients going to care? Are they going to be sweating that whole GDPR thing? Do they have any really concerns about it? Yeah, yeah, they are. They're really going to care. Here's now. Let me outline why, because it's not enough to know. Yeah, this is something to get upset about, but it's not something to get upset about. It's not. This is calm, cool, collected, no big deal. We're just going to handle it and move on. But we should be aware. So let's talk about it. Now, first up, you have the right to privacy. Now that's just built in fundamentally to the GDPR. It is absolutely this big thing about privacy. It's all about, ensuring that you are not unduly, inappropriately exposing personal information of people, right? It's all down to people, what's identifiable as a person and whether or not you're exposing their information. Now, it's absolutely a fundamental aspect of it. It's foundational to the whole GDPR thing. And so it has to become foundational to what you do because your clients and your customers are going to hold you accountable to that. Now, that's not all. They also have a right to consent. So you can't just collect data without letting them know that you're collecting data. You actually have to be able to have a mechanism in place for them to say, yes, I am okay with you collecting my information. It's a fundamental aspect of the GDPR and the GDPR applicability. So again, your clients and your customers, especially if they're EU applicable, are going to care that you are meeting these requirements. Now, next is they have the right to access. Now, that's where things get pretty fuzzy pretty quick, but they've got the ability to get at their information. They get to see what it is that you're collecting on them. Okay, that's fine. But also the way access is defined, it seems like if maybe sort of kind of if you can't supply the information when they request it in a timely fashion, within a timely manner, blah, 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 then you might be in violation of some of the GDPR requirements, and therefore you could be, up for some of the fines and stuff. Don't sweat those right now. I mean, we want to talk about just the mechanisms. But that's a right to access to the data. And there's a right to notification. And so that means if you're changing the way you're processing the data, if you change which data you're processing, if you change the data you're collecting, if you change the way you're collecting it, you have to notify people that those changes have occurred. Further, if there were reasons why they could not access their data, your servers were down, you had a crash, you have a notification requirement to let them know that you've had those things. They've also got the right to transfer their data. Now, this one gets really hard for me to understand. I mean, the core concepts are really simple. If I collect your name and you decide that you don't want me to have your name, but you want Billy Bob over there to have the name, then I have to transfer it to Billy Bob through some fashion. Either I give it to you to give to Billy Bob, or there's an open source mechanism that I spit out and Billy Bob consumes. I don't know, but if I'm selling underwear and Billy Bob is selling tin cans, you're going to ask me to transfer your underwear size to Billy Bob? I got nothing there. That's okay, cool. You can transfer the data. That one confuses me. I'm sorry. It just does. That the whole transfer, I understand that, but it's it gets weird. Anyway, the main thing of the requirement there is that it needs to be structured, commonly used, machine readable, and interoperable. Awesome. Everything's in JSON. JSON finally wins. But moving on. Finally, the more important thing, the one that has a lot of people freaked out, and I don't think that it ought to. I mean, I think it's just a question of process and methodology, but that's the right to be forgotten, which basically means, that assuming you don't fall within certain types of legal, law enforcement, medical, that kind of data, right? Those kinds of data, that there's not necessarily the right to be forgotten. We're going to track whether or not you've got your shots, right? That's that kind of stuff. But other data you can ask to be removed, and legally you are required to remove that data. If that data doesn't get removed, you are in violation of some of the GDPR and the punishments, which we're not talking about. We're not that worried about that. But that right to be forgotten, that actually becomes a big thing. And frankly, yes, all of your clients who are in the EU or those other countries I listed earlier, when it becomes applicable there, or all the other countries it's going to become applicable to, because it's just pretty much going to land everywhere eventually. Yes, your clients and your customers care about the GDPR. So therefore, it is something that you need to care about because they do. Thank you. My name is Grant Fritchey. I work for Redgate Software.